Europe, I think this is something I looked at the other day a little bit, but it looks like it's getting a lot worse, is that basically, I think inside of Europe, there's a growing resentment I think people have that they are being ruled over by unelected bureaucrats in the EU. I think this is just a general sentiment that Europeans have as a whole. By Europeans, I mean people in the EU.
Farmers from all across Europe have begun to surround the EU headquarters in Brussels. As the protest eventually became a fiery riot, the Belgian police began to deploy their water cannons.
Of course.
To which the farmers responded
what the
with
fuck?
blasts of manure, somewhat similar to Dragon Ball Z, just crappier.
Yeah, like Harry Potter or something.
And although this seems silly, the situation is quite serious considering the farmers are the only thing that stands between the citizens and starvation. So what exactly is making these agriculture workers from all across Europe revolt against the European Union? As yesterday, farmers traveled across the country to Belgium, arriving late into the evening outside the European Union building, eventually setting fire to the trees outside.
Jesus, why are they doing that? I feel like those people don't look like farmers to me. They just look like retards. I don't think they should let them set the trees on fire.
Law enforcement began preparing for the protesters. Now, several farmers explained what they were angry over.
Yeah.
But not knowing French, apparently they're protesting competition with foreign farmers that don't have the same regulations as they do.
Yeah, you can't compete against like a country that's exporting things whenever the country that's exporting them isn't following the same rules that you are. It's kind of like, how could you compete in like an FPS game if the person who you're going up against has an aimbot, right? They're going to beat you every single time. So the problem is that it's not really a free market when you're handicapped by like 5 or 10 different things and your opponent isn't. Like you're just going to lose. Like you've got your arm tied behind your back, right?
I'm all for the free market, but it's hardly free when local farmers have carbon emission standards and taxes, increasing minimum wages, and general quality expectations. And now the EU says local food is getting too expensive, so let's import cheaper goods from places that don't have those regulations we implemented. So maybe that's why angry farmers are dropping off potatoes to be tossed at the European Parliament building.
Yep, they're fucking pissed, I bet. I'd be pissed too.
As they were tear-gassed, the farmers used tennis rackets to pass them back.
The smoke grenades?
Now this went on for quite some time, at almost a stalemate, until their tractors were used to tear down their barricades.
Jesus.
Posting up a sign.
The fucking siren sounds. Oh my god.
That roughly translates to, here begins the dictatorship in French, as blue-collar protesters have no issue hauling away heavy planters.
That's true, yeah, these guys are fucking farmers. You know, they've got no problem moving shit around, yeah. Damn.
Then coming in with a automatic firework cannon.
They're professionals? Yeah. Jesus.
Starting a large tire fire in the courtyard. God. Then dropping off hay bales to make it worse.
Jesus.
As eventually, the riot police began to push back the farmers. The tractors did stage.
It's crazy how much chaos is over there. Oh my god.
Somewhat of a counterattack, pushing back the police.
I saw this part. This is one of the clips I saw the other day.
Even tossing rocks or abnormally large potatoes at the cops.
Those rocks are... Okay, I think those are rocks. Those have to be rocks.
But eventually, the water cannons prevailed.
Yeah.
Forcing out the farmers from the courtyard.
Jesus.
And even whacking the stragglers with their crime-fighting sticks.
God damn.
Where the farmers finally fled the scene. and into the evening, local citizens began
There's more potatoes.
collecting the left
It's an
behind
ammo drop.
potatoes, which is just a subtle reminder that these aren't far-left Antifa protesters.
Yeah.
These are the farmers that feed us. So what exactly has them so angry, and whose side should you be on? As the mainstream media basically has zero credibility. Well, let's just look at the AP's article on the South American Free Trade Deal, reporting the farmers believe the agreement will undercut their livelihoods,
Yeah, of
but
course.
there are political concerns that it's driving support for the far right.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Are you kidding me? There are political concerns that it's driving support for the far right? Have you ever thought about why that is, maybe?
Right, as the deal will make trade between the EU and several South American countries free from
I think these people still think that, well, if we use this word, then they'll have to stop doing it because they're afraid of the word. I think that we're in a place now where I don't think people are really as afraid of words as they were before. It's crazy.
on almost all goods. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I'm an expert in import duties,
Yeah.
but what I do understand is this is pretty much the exact opposite of what President Trump is doing for America, as Trump's tariffs get constantly slammed by the liberal media, writing, "The affordability crisis is real, and Trump's tariffs caused
Oh, wow.
it," which is exactly what the Democrats
Trump's
want them to
America.
say, complaining about the
Yep.
record high prices, despite the fact that this is mainly, if not entirely,
Wait, what? I was about to say, I was reading this, like, yeah, so Trump, it didn't go, so, I mean, wait, they posted this this makes Biden look pretty bad.
their fault, completely
Oh my
ignoring the
God.
$200 billion tariff revenue it has generated. And the cash is a nice bonus, but it's not the intended effect of the tariffs. It's the bolstering of both jobs and national security by bringing manufacturing back to America, which the
course you
corporate
wanna do
media
that. Yeah.
already has their lies ready and waiting, despite the huge investments into American manufacturing across
It's undeniable that it's a national health, or not national health, national security risk that all of our manufacturing is done overseas. Because that means if we have a conflict with another country, they could theoretically shut down our manufacturing and it would cause us a bunch of problems. Really, I mean, like, so this is, regardless of whether it makes jobs or not, this is still something that's good.
several industries, totaling hundreds
COVID
of
revealed
billions
that?
of
It did.
dollars.
COVID
So
showed that a
although
lot.
I'm not exactly certain of the specifics
Supply chains
of
compromised?
selling out
Absolutely.
your local farms for cheaper foreign food,
Yep.
I completely distrust the mainstream media's pluses as to why it's good for us.
Mm-hmm.
As the AP's article again frames this as worrisome far-right rallies, saying this free trade deal will counteract China and the US's blitzkrieg. The
Oh,
mainstream
wow.
media's false framing has become so insane. Every article is basically, here's the racist,
Yeah.
evil, misogynistic, mean to puppies, Nazi Trump policy, versus or equal rights, feed the needy,
Yeah.
healthcare for everybody, globalism agenda. It sounds like a joke, but we just saw them literally do exactly that. Invoking Trump's tariff blitzkrieg is no accident, especially in a short article that suggests
Who did Blitzkriegs originally? I forgot.
farmers as far
Ah,
right
jeez,
5
guys.
times. It's almost like there's this
Yeah, it's a
preconceived
mystery.
agenda to get you against the local farmers.
The Nazis?
And just
Oh.
accept whatever genetically
No way.
modified soy slop the third world will serve you. But the worst part about all of this
Well, the problem really, it's like, I don't have a problem taking food from third world countries in some regards, but the issue is that if it's being done in a way to undercut American wages or, you know, French wages, so the farmers in France aren't able to take care of themselves because they're competing on an uneven playing field. Like, if you're competing against people that don't have to go through the regulations that you do, if you're competing against people that don't have to go through like all the other things you have to do, then also, like, by the way, how are they not doing these regulations, but you're still importing their food? If these regulations were important, wouldn't you not want to import their food if they aren't going through these regulations? So why do the regulations even exist if there's a way that you can just trade with them and bring the food in anyway? You see what I'm saying? Like, none of this makes sense at all. No bananas. Yeah, I don't think people have a problem. Like, for example, you know, you live in Norway, maybe you can't grow a lot of pineapples. Okay, that's fine. You can import those. But like, if you're doing it to displace workers that are there, I think that's obviously a problem. How would anybody think it's not? Do you think you should shoot the farmers since they're throwing big rocks and even tried to ram the police with the big tractors? I'm going to permaban you for asking that because you're not really asking that. You're trying to create a inconsistency in what I'm saying. Yeah, you're trying to make a false comparison. And I will answer your question because, again, you will have your gotcha question answered, but it will cost you your account. The reason why I'm okay with Europeans doing it is because they're not able to protest and vote to change these things. So basically, I think violent protest and rioting is acceptable when democracy is not available. The problem is that these people aren't necessarily able to vote on these things. So they're not being represented by the public. They're not being represented by the government. So they have no political alternative than to be violent. You see kind of what I'm saying for that? So that's the difference, is that in a country where you have a democratic alternative to solve problems, then it's reasonable to expect people to go through that democratic alternative. But if you don't have a democratic alternative, then yeah, you have to do that.
Is finding out exactly what is going on at the European Union right now. Apparently they're threatening them, saying money today or blood tomorrow, as they need more money for Ukraine.
Around about 137 billion euros. Europe should cover 2/3, and this is not just about numbers. And it is also about ramping up the cost of war for Russia.
With the UK's Prime Minister, Care, explaining who their real enemy is.
Putin's appetite.
Yeah, they didn't vote for her. They didn't vote for her. That's the problem, is you have these people that are making decisions for the French that don't care about France. That's the fundamental problem, is that the people that are in the EU do not care about the best interests of these individual countries. They care about the collective economic goals of the EU that don't necessarily reflect the best interests of the people in the individual countries. This is an unelected fucking government, basically. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. And of course people are going to be mad about that.
Conflict and for chaos is already there, and it will only grow. And Russia is already menacing our skies, our waters, our streets, and our national security.
Preparing their citizens to sacrifice themselves.
Virtue signal over power? Yeah.
It's absolutely clear that Russia's hard power is something to fear. Sons and daughters, colleagues, veterans will all have a part to play, to build, to serve, and if necessary, to fight. And more families will know what sacrifice for our nation means.
It's bad enough.
I don't think that you're going to have people that are willing to enlist into the army and go to war in order to fund the lifestyles of migrants and to have their jobs offshored to South America and be undercut while their quality of life consecutively goes down. You're not going to get people to sign up for the military and be willing to do this. No one's going to fight in that war. Yeah, it's not going to happen, guys. And so I do feel like eventually this will come to a head because it will have to, right? It's obviously going to have to. They're warmongering? Yeah, I think so. And yeah, what are they fighting for? Exactly. Yeah, what are these people fighting for? So they can continue to be ruled by bureaucrats in the EU and have their country overrun by migrants? Like, why would somebody want to go out and fight a war for that?
They've proven they just see their citizens as tax cattle to fund all their ineffective progressive nonsense. But now, they're saying they see your sons as sacrificial lambs to a war that a majority of them forgot about.
Exactly.
Which brings up the bigger concern of all those foreign newcomers that already fled this war once before when Ukraine was initially invaded and have been receiving social benefits in the EU ever since. So if these European leaders think they can just send their citizens to be the first to fight their newest war to defend the men that refuse to fight it, I think their protests are going to become a lot worse than manure.
Absolutely. I think if they start trying to arrest people and force them into like military service in order to defend the country, I think it's going to be total fucking chaos. Like absolute massive fucking chaos.
So if you appreciate my concise, lighthearted commentary on the tragic status that is today's reality, hopefully I've earned your subscription and you'll subscribe to Decoy.
Stop reading the EU officials are not elected. Only Ursula is appointed by an elected parliament. I mean, do you think that the EU officials and the people inside of the EU care about the best interests of France? Or do they care about expanding the economic goals of the EU collectively, regardless of what's in the best interest of Frenchmen? What do you really think it is? Because like they're not, I think it's very like you can come up with all these like elaborate reasons of like why it's okay for them to do this, but at the end of the day, it's very obvious these people don't give a shit about it. If they did, they wouldn't be importing infinity migrants. So all they care about is making the number of the economic graph go up and consolidating more money and power for themselves. So yeah, of course the people are going to be angry about that. They absolutely should be. So yeah, I mean, I totally support that 100%.